Welcome to the class, Rise of the Philanthropreneur. 4 steps to building a movement that allows you to live a life of impact, adventure, and profit. You see, this class is meant to empower you. It's meant to show you the ropes and make you believe and feel and see the path that you can take to building a life as a philanthropreneur. Somebody who takes on the world's biggest challenges, all the while kind of merging the ROI of return on investment and the ROI of ripple of impact. You see, because I believe they cannot be mutually exclusive. We cannot change the world unless we're kind of matching those two things in the world that we live in today. And so the question is, how do you do this? How do you build a movement? How do you go about making an impact, all the while kind of being able to take care of your pockets, your family, your friends, being able to afford the adventure that you want to live, and be able to kind of move and have this impact around the world? Because at the end of the day, we vote not only at the ballot box, but with our dollars as well. So if we can help you learn how you can align your passions, have a deep impact, and actually create change and a movement in the world, and at the exact same time kind of be able to live off of your bliss and be able to make this a lifestyle, then this is something that we want to empower you with. So today we want to talk a little bit about what you will learn, right? What are the things you're going to take away before we dive into this? What are the things that you can expect to gain out of this? And the first is a really great sense of clarity and commitment. How you can pick an idea and commit to something bigger than yourself. Because so many of us are running around and we have some shadow of an idea, or some of us really don't know what we want to do, but we know that whatever we're doing at this very moment might not be in alignment. We might have a job that we hate. We might be in a position where we are at school and we're studying, we're seeing the fallacy that kind of the world or the promise of this world is kind of breaking down around us. So finding that clarity and commitment is super important. And that's definitely something we're going to teach you on how to find. The second thing you're going to learn is the importance of story and offer. How you can build a following for a cause and believe that you believe in and get paid to live your dream job. You see, I really believe that for the decade that I've been an entrepreneur and for the years that I've spent telling stories and being able to craft messages online and reach millions of people, I truly believe that story is the number one way that you can carry forward your mission and build a movement. But if you can link that story to an offer, then it can become your job. It can become the thing that you do that provides value to the world and gets you paid to do it. The third thing you're going to learn is about tribe and audience. How you can build a tribe or community around you and find support on your mission, right? Because we all know that changing the world is not something you're going to do alone. You're going to have to recruit some people, whether that be followers who are following you on Facebook and Instagram, or in person who are showing up to your in-person community events, or to your live bands of shows, or whatever that looks like. That's going to be vital for your success, but also finding the people you're going to work with. Who are the people you associate with? Who are the 5 people you're going to surround yourself with on a daily basis? And the last kind of key thing that we're going to ensure that we can teach you is about mastery and freedom, right? How can you master your craft and be an influencer or expert while living your adventure? So how do you start rising the ranks? How do you get to the position where not only are you learning what you're doing, not only are you getting this offer off the ground, but now you've totally mastered it. You can become a digital nomad. You can be in Thailand working on your laptop or your cell phone and still be running the machine that is making this impact go out into the world, right? So before I dive into anything else, I want to talk a little bit about my experience, because you guys are participating in a Superhero Academy class and in the classroom right now. But in fact, what is not so known about what I do is I actually have experience working with some very familiar brands that some of you guys might recognize, like Collective Evolution and Goalcast and Higher Perspective and Futurism and High Existence. I mean, together these brands have hired me as a strategist. I've helped, build ideas and content, have built movements that have reached millions of people over their existence, but not only over their existence, but millions of people every single month. If I combine the reach of all of these networks that I've been working with over the last month, they have reached over 300 million people recently in just creating videos, creating content, creating blogs, creating things that have changed the world. And so I've shared these stories and this knowledge to people all over the planet. This is actually a picture of me standing on stage at Paleo FX, which is a 6,000 person event, teaching, all of these things that you are going to be accessing here today for free. So can't wait to dive in. But obviously, I really could not talk about storytelling and story and offer unless I was going to tell you a story and then give you a gift at the end of the story, give you something that you can take home, something that could be very empowering for you and that can change your life. And so I want to start the story by talking about the very, very simple idea and the unfortunate truth that the world has issues. It has a lot of them. And this never got so clear in my mind compared to when in 2010 I decided that I was going to start watching a documentary a week. Each and every week I was going to sit in front of my computer and watch something about the ice caps melting, about climate change, about peak oil or fracking, or about the devastation that our rainforests are going through, or coral bleaching. And time again, these documentaries were exposing me to massive global issues. And every single time I was learning about these global issues, I was feeling more and more like I was this tiny, small little person and I could do nothing to actually change them. That I had absolutely zero power in taking on these challenges. But I started to recognize that we had access to a vast amount of information. Even though I was this one little person, I had access to the world of information that people would have dreamed of back in the days, right? Imagine what Google would be like to somebody at the turn of the century when they had never seen electricity. And imagine you had access to something like this. You see, we live in a world where information is rich, but the solutions are poor. Right? We don't have access to the same solutions that we used to. We're kind of flooded with ideas of fake news or headlines that we don't know what to make sense of. We are bombarded with the problems on our news networks, and we are literally shown to be fearful all the time. They're using fear to keep us in a box, to make us feel like we don't have power, to make us feel like the only thing we can do is go to the ballot box and vote between, the one bad option and the next bad option. And so I believe that we need a world of solutions. I believe that all those documentaries that are spending 99% of the time talking about the problem, or 1% of the time talking about the solutions, and saying, hey, we need to do something, but not giving us a very tangible path forward. I decided I wanted to change that. But before I could change that, I had to start somewhere. And so I ended up on this very page, right? Google homepage. So many of us have found this information, found ourselves on this page, but I, a few years ago, had the saddest day of my life when I had access to the world of information. And here I was blinking on this screen, and I had no idea what to type in to the search bar. I had no idea. The world of information is at my fingertips. So I start typing in, if everyone lived like, and then all of a sudden, Google, and its beautiful features, auto-completes the sentence. And it said, if everyone lived like the average American, and this slide, this picture here came up. And it was devastating to me. You see, I saw that if everyone lived like the average American, we would need 4.1 planets just to survive. 4.1 planets. Now, I don't know about you, but unless we're colonizing Mars anytime soon, that's still only 2 planets. We need to do something. And everyone in the world is looking to have this kind of first world life. Whether they're looking to be Americans or Canadians or whatever it is, they're looking for this kind of lifestyle. And more people are being born into these countries and these countries are finding wealth, and all of a sudden we are finding ourselves in a world that is drastically unsustainable. And this pained me. But there was one caveat. I'm Canadian. So here I was like, well, wait a second. I'm Canadian. I'm based out of Montreal. There's no way that we're as bad as the Americans, right? Wrong. Turns out we are awful. And we're not just bad. We're not just as bad as the Americans. Not only do we need one world to survive, not only two worlds, not only three worlds, not only four worlds, but we would actually need 5 planets if everyone lived like the average Canadian. And I was baffled. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't come to understand that I was part of the problem. That if everyone was living like me, that we would not be here. That this wasn't sustainable, and that we were playing this giant game of musical chairs. And that somehow, I didn't realize it, but I was somehow born into the lottery winning side of the equation. So in that moment, it led me to this journey. It led me to where I am right here, right now. You see, I would consider myself a philanthropreneur. That means I take on the world's biggest challenges via sustainable entrepreneurship. Like I said, the ROI of return on investment meeting the ROI that I love to coin and talk about of ripple of impact, right? Teaching people how philanthropy and entrepreneurship do not need to be at odds. And I've done so much stuff since I started as an entrepreneur in 2007. And I studied and mentored with countless game changers. I've invested in myself thousands of dollars going to schools and classes, online courses, coaching programs. I have coaches now I still work with. And I've been able to start 6 social businesses that are all still running today. So I've sold one, I'm still running 6 of them, or I have my hands in 6 of them at this very moment. And I'm reaching 10 million people every single month in social reach. I've been able to earn in some of these businesses between 6 and 7-figure revenues, which is amazing. But more than anything, I really want to tell you, beyond trying to impress you with my what I've done, what I've created, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those later, I really want to talk about the fact that I have failed many times. I have gone down the wrong path so many times. I have hit so many brick walls. I have made so many mistakes. I have not listened to people who have given me great information and advice many times over. And my goal is now to eradicate that kind of mentality for people like you. So if you're listening to this, understand that I have failed. And in fact, I once knew absolutely nothing about what I teach about today. You see, this is a picture of me in April 2012 in the middle of a GMO corn and soya field. It was a field that at the time I did not own, but I knew was for sale. And I had this idea that I was going to start something. And I'll talk about that in a little second. But I just knew nothing. I was in the middle of this field, and here I was with these ideas of changing the world. And I just had no idea where to start, but I knew I had to start. I knew I had to get out there and I had to be a part of the solution, and that solution wasn't just going to be on me behind my computer commenting and liking and sharing, that I had to get out into the physical world. That had to be a part of something really tangible and powerful. But what I also knew is what I believed, right? I believed in the ideology of freedom culture, a collective state of being that empowers and encourages all individuals to contribute their unique gifts to the world. You see, freedom culture is what I was after. I was looking for freedom. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted, but I knew what I didn't want. I knew I didn't want to be a 9-to-5 driver. I knew I didn't want a boss. I knew I wanted to be able to kind of travel, so therefore I didn't want to just have some big mortgage weigh me down early on in my life. I knew I wanted certain things, but I knew more about what I didn't want. I knew more about what was going to feel restrictive to me, and what made me therefore see my path towards freedom, even though I had no idea how to get there. And so I'd like to tell you that the first time I met my version of Neo, that I took the red pill, right? That I took the pill that said I was going to enter, see the matrix for what it was, and I was going to kind of warp out of this closed-minded mentality. I would love to tell you that the first time I was given this opportunity, that I was just like, yep, give me the red pill. I'm Neo. Let's do this. But the truth is, I actually went and got a traditional education. And I mainly did it because I believed it was the right path. It had worked for my parents. It had worked for so many people around me, and everybody around me was like, no, this is what you have to do. This is going to get you paid more statistically. This is great. This is going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff. So I went and I did it, right? I went to an Ivy League Canadian university, world renowned, called McGill University. And I actually started in finance and accounting. And as I progressed through it, I started to recognize just how shit it was. So then I started switching and I was like, well, maybe I could go into marketing and entrepreneurship. And then I realized it was even more shit. And then just worse and worse and worse. You see, I started to learn everything about what I didn't want to do through university. And even though I graduated just to make my parents happy and just to kind of go after that path, I had fallen victim to a very limited and narrow view of the world. This box that had encapsulated me and kind of made me feel like I couldn't do more, that I couldn't be more, that I couldn't create more. But the truth is, as I was at school, I started to recognize that we needed an educational revolution, that we needed to change the way education was going on. And this was so expensive to people. So many people are going to university and graduating with massive amounts of college debt. So many people are being misled on this path only to find out that this is not something they want to be a part of, that what they studied was a fallacy, that this wasn't actually enabling them or helping them, that talking about theories wasn't giving them the practical knowledge that they needed and that they wanted and that they were committed to kind of seeing in their life. So if you're one of these people and you're sitting there behind the screen, then I know what you feel like. And so on the day that I was graduating from university, on my final exam, I ended up writing this massive manifesto, and literally on the back of it, I literally turned around in the middle of a 3-hour exam. I turn around the paper and I start writing out this poem that had been belting out in my mind, because the entire time I was studying for this exam, I was listening to the song of Requiem for a Dream. And if any of you have seen that movie, it's a pretty intense movie, and the soundtrack is even more intense. And what came to me in this like lightning bolt of clarity was that I had to build the school we wish we could have gone to. That I had to be responsible for building something that I would have wished I could have gone to, because every time I point a finger, there are 3 pointing back at me. That if I wasn't willing to step up and be a part of the solution, then I was no different than those documentaries that I was watching. That I would only be an alarmist, that I would only be talking about the problems, right? Because for every one article that talks about the solution to climate change, there are 80 that talk about the problem. So I had to build this educational revolution, and I had to be a part of it in a big way. But again, I knew nothing. I never built a school. I know nothing about what it would take to build an off-grid community, let alone being able to transform this GMO corn and soya field that had been like that for 25 plus years. It had been pesticide ridden, that was literally worse than any soil that I had ever seen in my life. I had never planted a tree. I knew nothing about building online movements. I knew nothing about reaching millions of people. I knew nothing about starting an academy like Superhero Academy. But what I recognized when I went out in the middle of that GMO corn and soya field is that that was the smartest day of my life, because I had done 2 things. I went out into the middle of that field and I planted a tree. And I planted this tree, even though I didn't own it, the field, I knew I had to do it. I knew that somehow tree meant sustainability, that it meant better, that it was just good for the world. And that was the first smart thing that I ever did. But the second smartest thing that I've ever done is that I pulled out my phone. And on my phone, I had access to the world of information, just like I did when I had found myself on Google not long before. But this time, I decided to participate, to create, to let the artist in me flourish, and to pull out my Instagram, because why not? And to Instagram that tree. to share that moment, to share it on Facebook and social media. And immediately, people who I had literally never spoken to, people who had just gone to my high school, but they were, a few years younger than me, people who are literally across the planet, like the founder of High Existence, started paying attention, and I started to recognize that I wasn't alone. So that very field that I just showed you that I was standing in, well, here's what it looks like 5 years later. This was taken a few days ago. This is 3 acres out of 66 that we are now transforming. This is a fully functioning farm that is feeding dozens of families here in the local Montreal area. We have built an Earthship greenhouse. We have 150 chickens. We have multiple greenhouses being built across the street now. We have a soil lab. We have all powered by off-grid solar electricity. We have all kinds of members joining us from all over the world. And what I ended up starting was something called the Bahai Movement. Originally, we started it off as a non-profit organization that was out to proliferate freedom culture, that was out to kind of change the world, that was out to build not only a school, but an off-grid school and community. And over time, we were able to collect, up until now, over 30 plus co-op members, because we ended up opening up an organization, a co-op, where it's one person, one vote. We ended up reaching millions of people online since we've been kind of in the sphere of things. We were able to raise thousands of dollars on Kickstarter. Ended up looking for $10,000 in funding and ended up raising $28,000 in 30 days. And I had never done this ever in my life before. We've built countless off-grid buildings, and we're building new ones today. Literally today, a new greenhouse went up. And we have a thriving and growing organic farm. Each and every year, we are growing more food than all previous years combined, which is insane to me. It's amazing how many people from all over the planet, people have come and stayed from Australia and New Zealand, people have come from Europe and all of these different places, and it's just proven to be amazing. But here's the thing. This farm isn't just one farm now. It's now 2 farms. We not only have a 66-acre property now here in Montreal, even though I had no money when I first started this, we now have another physical location in Vermont, and we are in talks and communicating to get this going in other places like Australia and Costa Rica at this very moment. You see, somehow this one idea, somehow me who knew nothing, walked out into a field, did what I believed, and you know what you believe. And I just decided that if somebody else knew it, then I could learn it too. That in the exact same way that university has kind of taught me that I couldn't let schooling get in the way of my education, that I had to be a part of the solution, that I had to go out there and do it, just like you do. And so people from all over the world started coming and asking us questions online, and you can imagine the number of emails and Facebook messages and comments that we were getting. And so people kept asking me, well, how do I do this? How do I live this? How do I make this community happen in my hometown, in Seattle or in BC or in Calgary or in Australia or in wherever you are from? And so I decided to not only make the physical school, but then I decided it would be super important to make the online school. And so that's where the idea of Superhero Academy was born. It came out of the necessity that people were asking me for this knowledge and information. And then I recognized that I didn't have all the information, but I had access to a bunch of mentors. And I had access to a bunch of people who had taught me. Because when we first started this organic farm, I had never heard of earthships and permaculture. We didn't even have a name when we first started. I just started doing it, and I found smarter and smarter people to surround me and give me this information. And I vowed that I would continue to pass it along. And so we've done that, right? Over the last 2 years, I've been slowly but surely in beta developing Superhero Academy to now have launched it full on to the world. And we have over 100 plus founding students with new people joining each and every single day. We have 40 plus online classes with new courses being filmed. Even Garrett, who was at the beginning of this webinar, is now filming his first online course, and a year ago had no idea what he was doing. And we have an expanding teachers list, because over time we recognize that I'm not the only teacher. And although we already have other guest teachers like Peter Diamandis and Simon Sinek who have had on, as a guest and kind of douse us with some of their wisdom, we are adding in courses about health and wellness, about copywriting, about social media management, about all the things that people like you would love to master, right? So if you're somebody who wants to know how you can change the world and kind of grow a following on Instagram, we have the course for you. If you want to know how you can be a social media manager and help different movements by playing a role in multiple movements, then we can teach you that. If you want to learn storytelling and how there are so many facets to that, then we have that knowledge. And so slowly but surely, we started to recognize that there was a couple of key values that were standing out for us, right? We understood that as a unit, as Valhalla and Superhero Academy, that we needed sustainability. And sustainability at the time when I first started meant gardens and solar panels and trees in my mind. But now I have the deeper understanding that sustainability is about long-term thinking. And that permaculture isn't just something to describe what you do in a garden, but it really is a philosophy of life. Thinking about how the tomato plant thrives next to the basil, for example. Thinking about long-term decisions that empower me today, but also more so, and more importantly, in 5 years, in 10 years. And that don't just empower me, but that reduce my footprint from 5 planets to just 1. Or maybe less than 1, that's probably better. I also recognize the value of needing community, right? Here I was learning all this stuff, getting so angry, diving into conspiracy theories, all these things, but I was doing all of this alone. I was getting depressed by people like Alex Jones screaming in my ear, telling me a bunch of really interesting and questionable information, but at the exact same time, more than anything, I felt alone. I felt like I had nobody to share this with. And if I didn't have a community, if we didn't band together, if I didn't take that picture and post it on Facebook and Instagram, I don't think I would be where I am today. You see, community is about people coming together because as we work together, we become stronger. We cannot be separated. Our tribe, our values permeate. And an idea spreads through community, through word of mouth, through storytelling, but through the storytelling not of one person, but of the entire tribe of people. The third value that we recognize is that we needed knowledge, right? We needed to learn more about these ancient wisdoms, about how to plant tomatoes next to basil, about what it would take to build a sustainable building in a green architecture firm, what it would take to build an online course or school, what it would take to reach millions of people online, what that would look like if we had the knowledge and we were empowered, if traditional schools had actually taught us what we needed to know in the first place. But more importantly, the knowledge, we also needed to put that knowledge into action. You see, wisdom is when knowledge meets action. When those two are combined, when we actually put it into a tangible reality, we don't just talk about it and blog about it and talk online and reach millions of people, that we actually go and live it, where we actually start shifting towards what we would have considered impossible before. Well, now these things start to become possible when we put them into practice in our own lives. And so, with all of this said, and all of this story told, and now you understand a little bit more about me, now the question is, how do you build a movement? How does this apply to your life? So, if you don't already have a pen and paper, or you want to take notes, by all means, go and grab it right now. But here's the thing. Here are some of the pieces of information that I learned, but if you don't apply them, they're not really going to empower you, right? Me giving you the knowledge isn't enough. You have to put them into action. So please take note of this. The first thing I learned is that focus is a superpower. You see, so many of us want to take on all the world's challenges. We want to start 1,000 fires, let's say. Right? See, we're going around learning about all these tragedies through documentaries, through blogs, through the news, whatever. And we feel called to help all of them. But here's the thing. Your attention is the biggest asset. Everyone in the world is fighting for it. In fact, marketing is the art of capturing attention and then making people, or kind of suggesting that people go down a particular thought pattern or path. Now, here's the thing. Your attention is kind of like a magnifying glass. So imagine you're out in the woods, right? You're in this big, scary place, kind of like the world is, and the environment around you is affecting your ability to see and navigate. But let's assume that it's daytime, and you're trying to start a fire because the daytime is quickly succumbing to the night. And so you walk around with your attention, and you start moving this magnifying glass trying to start a fire. But here's the thing. If you don't have the right environment, if you're trying to start this fire and it's too late and it's nighttime, that's going to be a problem. But if you keep moving the magnifying glass, trying to start 1,000 fires at the same time, aka trying to learn everything at the same time, trying to do 4 jobs, trying to learn 4 different things, watching all these documentaries in every single direction, taking all these online courses, never taking a moment to sit down and just breathe and focus, then what you will have effectively done is started 0 fires. But the number one way to start 1,000 fires is to hold steady with 1 fire first. Because once you start the first fire, you can then carry a torch from that first fire to the next, to the next, to the next. I think it's part of the Buddhist philosophy that they talk about that 1,000,000 candles can be lit with 1 single flame. So the question becomes, well, what is that flame for you? What does that look like? See, over years, I discovered that my flame is storytelling. That my flame is being passionately able to communicate a message and inspire action. I'm actually really good at starting fires. I'm really good at getting people to focus. But the number one metric of your focus is that if you show me your calendar, I and it will predict your results. You see, if you're not taking the time to plan and schedule, if you don't even have a calendar, and you're just going about waking up in the morning and just, oh, it's a Tuesday, I guess this is what I'm going to do today. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to find yourself in a position where you are not going to be fully empowered. Your energy is going to be scattered across 1,000,001 different ideas, and you're going to succumb to the basic needs of, I need money, I need food, I need water, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to have sex, whatever that looks like. You're going to succumb to a lower level need than the higher level needs that you are looking to create. I mean, if you showed up to this class, it's because you're looking to build a movement. You're looking to rise as a philanthropreneur. But if you're not dedicating a small amount of time each and every single day towards that, if it's not on your calendar, if you are not planning and you are not scheduling, something that we teach in Superhero Academy, right? If you're not doing that, then I guarantee you, you're not going to go anywhere as an entrepreneur. This is something I had to learn. This is what all my coaching that I've received from other people is always about. It's about that accountability. It's about that notion of putting it on your calendar and sticking to it and working towards that each and every single day. And I love to use a technique called power hours, but I don't have time to explain what that is now, but it is part of the academy and something that we teach. The second big thing that I learned is that stories spark movements. Now here's the thing, if you're still watching this, what that says is that the story that I told you earlier actually has engaged you, it has captivated your attention, and it has started to build a movement in your mind. You're starting to see the pathway, you're starting to recognize yourself in my own story, you're starting to see how you and I think alike. And see, stories spark movements because people share them. Back in the day, the stories of the Bible or the stories of tales, the tortoise and the rabbit, these are tales, fairy tales that communicated powerful lessons. And these stories enabled giant civil rights movements to happen, right? They told stories that enabled people to pay attention. And the more juicy the story, the more exciting the story, the more it grew. But here's the thing, many people think that stories are told in a very unique way every single time. But what I really learned is that stories have powerful patterns. They have patterns that emerge each and every single time. And in fact, if you think about a superhero movie, my favorite superhero is Batman because he's a regular guy taking on the world's biggest challenges. People think that the story of Batman is about Batman. But it's not. It's actually about about the villain. It's actually about Joker. See, without the villain, there is no Batman. There is no need for Batman. And everyone actually hates Batman in Gotham before the villain comes and becomes this common enemy, this common threat. So in the world today, we use stories to go to war. And that's the unfortunate truth. So many wars have been created because there are terrorists on the other side with weapons of mass destruction or whatever it is. And it's garbage, it's bullshit, but you buy it. You buy it because it's a story and it has a predictable arc and it plays upon your preconceived notions. So in the exact same way that stories are used to go to war, stories can be used to create good. MLK went up and said, I have a dream. And he told a story. He told a story of something he envisioned, not just for himself, but for we the people. So stories are powerful. But stories are only as powerful as rockets are powerful when they have fuel. You see, rocket ships to get to Mars, to land on the moon, to make these amazing stories that things like JFK was like, we will go to the moon because it is hard, right? These storylines only can happen if the science, if the rocket fuel is there. So in this case, we can talk all day about philanthropic ideas like we have to save the coral reef, or we have to save the lions or the pandas or the polar bears or whatever. Unless you have real fuel in this rocket ship, you are not going to really affect the world. And what that means is that you need financial backing. You need to create value. You need to be able to see and create something that is outstanding. And if people can see this outstandingness, if they can see this component of what you're doing, then the easiest way to be seen as outstanding is that you need to stand out. Right? Your offer, what you are offering the world, the gift that you have in you, the bliss that you can create, the talents that you have that I don't, right? Whether you're a piano player, whether you're a supporter, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, all of those things. All of those talents are things that you need to use to stand out and you can build a real business on, right? A business that actually cares and actually matters. Now, the third thing I learned is that movements move. Now, it seems predictable that movements move and it seems very obvious, but what do I mean by that? Well, the reason why the I have a dream speech lives in infamy is not just because there was 1 million people paying attention in Washington when he gave that speech, but it's because that speech was actually documented. Was it a perfect speech? By all means, in my opinion, it wasn't. But it was an effective speech because the documentation of the progress of what MLK and the civil rights movement was doing led to that moment. They documented the process. Every time Gandhi was out there telling the people to literally stand in front of the British soldiers and get beaten down, people were paying attention. They were documenting with their eyes. They were writing it down and telling the world about this. And so being able to tell your story has never been more accessible. If you're watching this right now, it guarantees that you have access to the technology that can literally change the planet. So if you are watching this right now, you have the same opportunity to reach millions of people with a powerful message and your movement by just starting to document it, by taking a picture, by making a video, by launching a podcast, by communicating what you are doing. Because half the battle is doing it and learning what you need to do and how you need to start, and we can teach you that. We can get you started. But you have to document your progress. You have to tell people about your business or your idea or your movement if people are going to know about it. Right? You have to communicate it over and over and over again, just like you ended up here because we were able to document this process. Now, fourth thing I learned is knowledge isn't wisdom. Now, I said this earlier and I'm going to explain and elaborate further. Right? Knowledge isn't wisdom. Well, what do I mean by that? Here is a great analogy that I love to share. Two people walk into the gym on January 1st. One person pays a $50 membership fee, signs up to the gym on a very regular basis, and every single month they have access to all the classes in the gym. They have access to all the equipment, all the same tools that they can use to get six-pack abs. Right? How many people in the world want a six-pack? Probably a majority of you, right? Now, The second person walks into the gym and they have access to the exact same equipment. The difference is they pay $500 a month. And here's why. They pay $500 a month because they gain access to accountability. They hired a personal trainer, and that both people are at the gym. They have access to the same equipment. Both people have a year-long pass. But who's still at the gym on March 31st? Who's still at the gym on January 31st? Or who's still at the gym on December 31st? You see, so many of us realize that to get a six-pack, we already have the knowledge. We already know that if we do more sit-ups and eat more kale, and we do it every freaking day, that we would have a six-pack. But why don't we have it? Well, it's because we need the accountability. We need somebody in our corner to root us on. And the person who bets on themselves more, the person who invested more in themselves, is way more likely to have the six-pack than the person who didn't. Statistically, this is proven time and time again. If you are burning $500 a month, whether you show up to the gym or not, chances are you're going to show up. And if you show up and you do one more sit-up than the other person does, you are way further ahead. And that is a massive step towards your accountability. That's why people show up to classes. If you went to a university and you didn't pay, you wouldn't take it seriously. You wouldn't have to feel the consequence of failing an exam. Right? Because you've invested so much time and energy and sweat equity and money, right? The thing that you value to some degree, something at least that you value, you take it seriously and you try. And so you need to find mentors who help keep you accountable. If you're going to jump off the cliff or out of the plane, you need to find somebody who's going to teach you how to do it first. How many of you would go skydiving without a freaking course in it first? Right? How many of you are trying to start movements but never took a moment to speak to somebody who starts movements? How many of you want to be a lawyer and never spend time sitting down with a lawyer? It's so symptomatic of our system to just keep moving down the path without ever inquiring further, without ever making that long-term decision, or better yet, the commitment to your accountability. I believe that accountability is crucial to your success. And I don't just say that, I practice it, I live it. I spend thousands of dollars every single month on keeping myself accountable with business coaching and health coaching and wellness coaching and yoga, you name it, I'm doing it. Because I do not accept that I cannot have that six-pack. I do not accept that I can't build that world-changing movement. Because Gandhi and MLK and Oprah and all these people, Elon Musk, they're just regular people doing extraordinary things, just like what you want to do, right? So the last thing that I learned, the last thing that I recognized was so important is that what sets apart people is that some people like to say, yeah, I'm interested in changing the world. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in learning more about this other tool. I'm interested in being able to change my life. I'm interested in what this could mean for me and what this could look like. But there is a difference between being interested and being committed. They're not at all the same thing, right? Committed is saying, every day I wake up, no matter how I feel in the morning, I'm going to show up to the gym. Every day I wake up, no matter how much money is on the line, no matter how much debt I'm in, no matter how much I hate my job, I'm going to show up and I'm going to make this happen. No matter how much fear I have inside of me, I am going to overcome it. I am going to stand in front of the British soldiers and be beaten down just like Gandhi. I am going to stand for what I believe, because what I believe matters more than how much money I have in my bank account, because that doesn't matter when we die. Find that will inside of you and recognize that it won't be there every single day, that you're going to need that accountability inside of you. You need to find that, and you need people to keep you there. So with all of that in mind, I want to offer you a gift. I want to offer you a unique opportunity. I want to see if you're really committed, and I want to reward those who are. Because I believe that you can make this your life. I believe that you can also help build the school that you wish you could have gone to. That you can be a part of it. that you could be a teacher within it, that you could be the mentor, that you could be the master, that you can do that and live it. And so we crafted a 4-stage journey in Superhero Academy. And I would love to tell you about it because it really acts like a belt system. It really starts just like judo would, from white belt to black belt. And our online courses are available all over the world, but it teaches you that first step. And then it moves into in-person mentorships and boot camps and masterminds and events. We have thousands of people paying attention to this. We have thousands of people applying each and every time we host a trip in Costa Rica or in Montreal or whatever it is. So many people are asking us to be a part of this, but we are looking for people who are on the path to mastery, who are willing to go and be an apprentice and recognize that they can learn from people who have walked this path before them. And so the apprentice level is all about helping you find that clarity and commitment towards living a life of following your highest excitement and establishing the patterns needed for success as someone who is self-employed. AKA, we're going to help you pick an idea, commit to an idea, and then start along the path to being self-employed. Remember I talked about your calendar, show me your calendar, and I know what kind of results you're going to have? Well, we teach you how to make a calendar. We teach you to share your calendar with other people within our tribe so that you can stay accountable to it, because the simple fact that you made a calendar will now say that even if you aren't doing it, you'll have that nagging self-defeatist voice in your mind saying, you said you were going to do this, why don't you get to it now? You said you were committed, why don't you start now? And over time, you can't ignore that voice. So we're going to teach you that. We're going to help you find that clarity and commitment. The second stage of the academy, and there's tons of courses in this, help you craft your new story for when somebody asks you, what do you do? And be empowered to create an offer that allows you the financial freedom to live out your dreams and have a real impact. You see, if you're going to start a business, you have to recognize that you have to be able to communicate what that is. Every single time that you're at a networking event or you're at a family gathering or you're at a party or whatever it is, when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, what do you do? What are you passionate about? Like, what's happening in your corner of the world? Your ability to communicate what you do in a very powerful story is something that we can teach you. There's lessons to be had. Every single superhero movie and every single Disney movie has a predictable ending, right? So if it has a predictable ending, why are you listening to it? Why are you watching it? Well, it's not because it doesn't have a predictable ending that you wouldn't watch. You watch it because it inspires you. It speaks to your values and what you believe. It makes you happy inside. So being able to craft that story and then figure out, what is that gift? What is the thing that you uniquely have that you're willing and able to give out to the world? And how do we help you develop it, price it, document it? How do we figure out which, if we're going to use marketing terms, which customer avatar you're speaking to? Who are the clients? Where are they? What do they like? What are they looking for? Why would they accept this offer? Why wouldn't they accept this offer? Right? Are they men or are they women? What does their Facebook page look like? We teach you all of that. And this is coming from my wealth of experience, not only doing this with massive networks, but doing this as somebody who's been running a marketing agency for over 8.5 years. You see, I've done this for massive brands like I've done it for small nonprofit organizations. So no matter what story or what you want to do, and whether you want to be a self-employed entrepreneur or you just want to support an amazing movement like, I don't know, some nonprofit that you care about, we can help you tell that story. Because if the nonprofit that you work for or the nonprofit that you start can have a better story, then you can help them. So we teach you that. We also teach you how to find your tribe for support and accountability, as well as build a team to help you bring your gifts to the world and amplify your message to reach the masses. You see, if you're going to build a movement, you're going to need a team, and you're going to need to find who that movement is for. Where does that movement found? How are you carving out a niche on Facebook and Instagram that now all of a sudden is supporting this movement, both with their likes, with their attention, that thing that is so important, with their time, and also with their dollars? And how can you find that team and surround yourself with that team in an ever-growing way? How can you find the people who, if you don't want to be the webmaster and build your own website, that you find that webmaster, that you find that graphic designer? Because all of those skill sets are in the academy. The academy is such a diverse group of people, and there are so many teachers, and I am only one of them. And I am humble enough to say that not only am I the teacher, but I am the biggest student as well. That this entire process, that this very class that you're listening to is all a learning curve for me. It's all part of this progression in my ability to make this movement grow. And so the last stage of the online class and course that we have is the mastery level, which helps you build your career and lifestyle to be seen as an expert in your field and be invited to rub shoulders with the masters who were once your teachers and inspiration not long ago. You see, I know that one of my inspirations, one of the masters that I look up to is somebody like Elon Musk. But not only Elon Musk, there was somebody called like Simon Sinek, who I ended up being able to interview. These are all people I thought were masters. These are all people who I'd read their books or listened to their podcasts or paid attention to. The Gary V's, the Tim Ferrisses, the Oprah Winfrey's, the amazing people, Ellen DeGeneres. All these people were doing such amazing things. They were living these impossible lives that I believed only people on TV could live. But then I realized I can be free too. That I can have that career too. That I can create this too for me. And so we teach you how to do that, how to master that, how to hone that craft, how to say, okay, I've learned all of these things about what it takes to build a movement, but this is the thing that I want to focus on. This is the fire that I want to burn ever so brightly so that I can carry a torch from this fire to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, so that all those impossible fires that you want to start can be started. Now, in Superpower Academy, we offer the real value when it comes to the how-to, right? 40 plus online classes teaching you everything from how to start a podcast to how to grow a Facebook page to how to figure out what customers you're looking for to literally what are the tips and tricks on Instagram and how to start a webinar or how to teach a class, how to do sales, whatever it is that you don't know. We are constantly adding in classes each and every single month, and we're always taking feedback from students because they get to vote on which class is next, right? Which topic or ideas or questions they might have. Now, the Academy also includes mentorship from world-class philanthropreneurs, right? The ability for you to learn not just from somebody who wants to do this, but from somebody who has done this, who is self-employed, who has gone out there and made this part of their daily routine and been able to live off of it while having an impact. Now, we also offer direct support and a private Facebook group where we answer every single one of your questions. If you are a student in Superpower Academy and you send me an email, I guarantee you that we will answer every question. Because we understand that if we're going to build a movement, if we're going to change the world, that we can't change it all on our own, that we have to inspire people like you to take on the world's biggest challenges. Because right now, as I'm working on an event for making the barrier reef great again in Australia, as I'm working on fixing coral bleaching and the problems of plastics in the ocean and the decimation of the ecosystems because of the loss of sharks and all kinds of stuff, as I'm taking on that challenge, or as I'm building an eco-village here in Montreal, that I can't be taking on the challenge that you might be taking on. That I can't be taking on the problems that are happening in the socioeconomic problems of the streets of Chicago. That I can't be taking on the drought issues that are being faced in California. That I can't be taking on the many, many, many topics that deserve our full-fledged attention that people like you can make happen. And so we teach you how to have this impact. We teach you how to build a movement. And the results are clear, right? The results that people have is that people experience that financial freedom. They experience the ability to pay their own bills and to not have to go to work all the time. Now, doesn't mean that this is easy. This is by no means a path for people who are just interested. This is going to take time and commitment, but you can watch these classes 24 hours, 7 days a week. They're available at all times. So if you want to go through it at your own pace by watching it once or twice a week after work, or if you want to watch it every single day, you can do that, and you can watch it multiple times over. Now, to get that financial freedom, you're going to need that accountability. And that's why one of the things that we built into Superpower Academy is we know whether or not you watched the class or not. Because we have down to the minute, down to the second, which class you watched and when. So if we see that you haven't been in the academy in a while, that you said you were going to watch 2 classes a week, but now all of a sudden you're not, well, then we'll poke you. We'll ping you and be like, hey, what's up? We haven't seen you in a little while. What's happening? You told us about that idea when you joined. Like, what's going on? Or you were posting your schedule every week, but now this week you missed it. What's going on? Like, what's happening? And just like that person who walks into the gym on January 1st, who paid $500 a month, well, that person is definitely having a better result, right? Even though they're spending 10x. I'd rather spend 10x on something and have the results that I was looking for than spend 1x on something but get nothing, right? Now, more importantly, we also do that not only myself, but as a tribe, as a community. We are so talented and multi-diverse. Like we have so many different people, from web developers, graphic designers, people who are starting permaculture projects in California. We have people living in Costa Rica that were making events. We have people who are social media managers who literally started up the next chapter of Valhalla in Vermont. We have people who have literally changed their lives and have gone and embarked on a massive adventure while doing it, while being able to be digital nomads, by being able to work from a laptop, by being able to be empowered and share this movement and their story and what they're doing from anywhere in the world. And their 9 to 5 turns into like a 9 till all the time, right? I work more hours than somebody in a 9 to 5 because I love it, because it's an adventure. It's not a job. It's what I love. It's what I do. Every day I want to get on as many phone calls, reach as many people, make as many amazing videos and posts. I want to kind of go out and plant as many trees as I possibly can because it's exciting to me. And so who this is for is somebody, well, in fact, let me stop and say who this is not for, because I think that's more important. Because this is not for half-ass committed, interested people, right? This is not for people who are closed-minded and not willing to observe and kind of take on new information and who think that they know it all. This is not for people who are not seeking accountability, who think that they can do everything on their own and all I need is the gym pass and I can just do my crunches and eat more kale right now and I never need the extra motivation or the fire under my ass to make that happen. And this is not for people who are not willing to invest in themselves, right? But what this and who this is for the people who are seeking freedom, the people who are looking to get out of this rat race they feel that they're in, who are seeking a tribe, who are looking to kind of build that community around them, but also to be a part of one with like-minded people who feel that they're alone or that feel that they're not surrounded by enough people who are motivating them to kind of think bigger and dream bigger. This is for people who are dedicated to impact, who are dedicated to taking on the world's biggest challenges. Because if you just want to build the next Angry Birds app and you're going to call yourself a social entrepreneur or philanthropreneur, and the only unique thing that you're doing is building the next Angry Birds app, and now all of a sudden you own it because that's why it's different, well, this is not the academy for you. This is about people taking on the world's biggest challenges. This is about people who are committed to their mission. So are you committed to your mission? Which one of these people are you? Now, I love to not only tell you what the academy does, but I want to show you what the academy has done for people before. So Ryan Schwartz is a model student. He was somebody who was looking for support. We ended up meeting on this Facebook group somehow. I was on a trip in California doing a speaking tour, and he reached out to me because I just posted Superpower Academy for the first time, our beta model. And he just kind of saw it in some Facebook group. We were never connected, although we both lived in Montreal. And he was trading time for money. He was working as a copywriter, earning $15 or $20 an hour, depending on which company he was working for, working part-time. He was completely unsure of his path. He had no idea what he wanted to create or what he wanted to do. But more importantly than anything, he had a stroke in his early 30s. He was 32 years old, and he was in Florida on a vacation. He had a stroke. So he comes back to Montreal, somehow he regains feeling in his body, comes back to Montreal, and 2 days after coming out of the hospital, he has a meeting scheduled with me, and he decides he has to go to it. He decides that no matter what's going on in his life, he had to show up. And in that meeting, I had one of the most powerful encounters of my entire life. I basically told him this exact story, right? very similar. I told him so many things. I listened to him. I paid attention to what his dreams were. I paid attention to some of the ideas. I was able to help him find clarity in the minute by just listening. And I was able to kind of ask him very tough questions. And now, Ryan went from earning $15 an hour part-time to working together after 5 months of taking the courses and working together and speaking on a regular basis and him asking me questions all the time and going through the academy because he was committed. He made $30,000 in a single month. He went from being a copywriter to writing movie scripts and literally doing copywriting work for some of the biggest entrepreneurs on the planet. He helped write emails that made $7 million for someone. He literally went out there and changed the game for himself because he started earning great money. He started becoming independent and location independent. He started becoming his own boss, and he was focused on giving back, on creating community, on partnerships, and doing multiple launches and kind of going out there and helping people in so many ways. And he did not only all of that for other people, but then he made his own course and he did a 6-figure launch for himself. He was able to go from somebody who was completely unempowered and unsure to somebody who had mastered the game and it was at the top tier of the levels, the top price points. One of the most expensive people to hire at this point. And he now works at Superpower Academy, believe it or not, as one of the brands that he helps and one of the impacts that he has. But Ryan was somebody who was unique. He was looking to be an entrepreneur. But Jara, who came to our mentorship program in Costa Rica, this is a picture of her in Costa Rica. She was kind of looking to be more of a supporter, right? She was like, well, I want to have an impact, but I don't necessarily want to be my own boss, or I don't want to necessarily be the leader. I'm just really good at supporting. I'm really good at helping. And so at the time when I met her, she was working for a bank. She was unclear with what her wants were. She was looking for a tribe. She was living in Amsterdam and seeking adventure. She was just like, I need to get out. I need to go do something fun, and I need to take these courses, or I don't know what I need to do. And so I ended up telling her about Superpower Academy, both our online courses, which she started for a few months, and then she came out to Costa Rica and lived with us for a month. And in that month, her entire life changed. She ended up meeting and supporting an amazing game changer, somebody who's literally a Facebook ads genius. Somebody who's out there literally creating ads for only purpose-driven and spiritual-based companies, people who are literally looking to change the world. And in fact, they're doing our ads now too. But the interesting thing is she started working with them directly. She became location independent. She was living in Amsterdam, but now is living in Canada and has a boss who lives in Montana, right? She started building a portfolio and learning a whole bunch of stuff about Facebook ads, something she had never done. Right? She never knew anything about Facebook ads. She had never run a Facebook ad campaign in her life. And now all of a sudden, she's smiling a lot more about her job, quote unquote. Right? She's way more excited to support somebody who she cares about, who she kind of can see is having drastic impact, who's spending $1 million a month on Facebook ads to literally change the results that so many business leaders are having, because Facebook reach is all of a sudden a problem nowadays, ever since they became a public company. So these are the stories of people who have enrolled in the mastery program, in what we are offering. And these are all people who spent $2,000 or more, because they came to the mentorship program in person, to enroll into Superpower Academy. But today I want to offer you a gift. I want to offer you something that is way more empowering and way more affordable. And I want to make it 50% off. So this is a limited time offer. We are willing, for those who are committed, for those who want to step up right now, for those of you who cannot wait any longer, for those of you who have something burning inside of you, whether you know what it is directly, specifically, or not, we want to empower you to take the next step, and we want to support you along the entire way. And so with that, we want to give you this exclusive offer. And not only do we want to give you it, but we want to guarantee it. You see, I know the information that you need to start a movement is in this course. I know that it is in Superpower Academy, and I'm so willing to guarantee it for 60 days because we need you to commit to it for just a short period of time, to see that progress, to take that first step, to light that first spark, to get that smoke coming out with your magnifying glass. Because once you see that smoke, you are inches away from fire. Once you have that fire, once you have that flame, the possibilities, the number of fires you can ignite is endless. And so we want to ignite that passion in you. As you hear that passion in me, we are guaranteeing that this information is there for you. And it's risk-free. We will literally give you every penny of your money back if you do not love it. If you join the academy, you watch every single course, you say, oh, that was kind of valuable, but it didn't really teach me anything, or which has never happened before. But if that's you, right, we'll give you your money back. Because the only way that we're going to help empower the world is by helping people for real. And if this isn't helping you, then by all means. But if this is literally a risk-free scenario. You could try this right now. And there's no other school on the planet that will give you this very opportunity for free. Because you can't sign up like I went to McGill University. You can't go to classes and be like, well, this is total junk. Give me my money back. Yeah, I wish I can get all that money back that I spent at that damn university. But I guarantee it. And I want you to feel that this is really, truly possible, right? You know, so many people, including your own fears and people in your life, might start telling you, well, wait a second, being a philantrepreneur, that's stupid. You should go keep your job and you keep going to school, keep doing whatever the fuck it is that you're doing now. And then how many people laughed at like Elon Musk, right? How many people were like, wait a second, you can't do that. You can't be the biggest car company in the world. The oil companies, the oil barons, they're going to squash you. They're going to kill you, Elon. Right? How many people told him that? And yet Tesla became the biggest car company in America. Or, you know what I mean? Like, how did that happen? All of a sudden, this car company that came out of left field took out massive giants and is changing the entire course of history and the trends. It is pushing forward things like self-driving cars and electric cars and batteries. It is literally changing the planet. So if you want to be like Elon, it's possible. And here's the thing, it's not too late to spit out that blue pill. You remember when I told you that I had wished I had taken the red pill first? Well, I didn't, but I spit out the blue one. I recognized that I didn't have to keep going down the path that other people wanted me to. That it wasn't serving me, that just because they thought it was good for me doesn't mean it was good for me. That I could take that red pill still, that I still had that opportunity, but that I had to seize that opportunity. You see, philantrepreneurs, they seize opportunities. Entrepreneurs make decisions because they have to. And so I want to make and help you make this decision for you, right? I want to give you the opportunity for 5 days. This offer for 50% off is only valid for 5 days. That's it. And it's gone. So, are you interested or are you committed? Are you the kind of person that is just going to think about it and maybe this is right for you? Or do you recognize that this is a risk-free scenario? I'll give you your money back if it doesn't work. But if it does, this can change your life for a fraction of the cost of what it would take you to learn it anywhere else. And we will answer every single one of your questions as they come up, if you have any. But I'm pretty damn sure, not even sure, I know that that information is there. And that's why nobody's ever asked for their money back. Right? So, look. I've taught you a whole lot of stuff today, and I wanted to give you as much information as I possibly can. But if there's one thing that you can take away, it's that investing in yourself, trusting your internal compass, your internal gut feeling, well, that's what you have to do. You can't ignore that. You have to invest in you, and that is the best investment beyond anything else. Your own education, your own knowledge, and that knowledge put into action, therefore it becoming wisdom, is the number one investment in the world, both financially, and this is proven, right? Better than the stock market or anything. If you invest in yourself, you will thrive. Not only from the financial perspective, not only does it make sense, right? Like dollars and cents, but it also makes sense inside of you. So feel what's happening in your heart. If you're still here, and it sounds like you're committed, and if you're still here, and we want you to be a part of the academy. We want you to join right now. We want you to take this leap with us, to swim in those deep waters, because those deep waters are exciting. They're worth doing. These movements aren't going to happen on their own, and we need brothers and sisters and superheroes like you to step up to the plate and take on those challenges.